What if building your legacy wasn't about simply getting it all right, but taking the next step? Our next guest is an adoptive mother of nine and author of The Heart of Legacy. She's walking us through what it really looks like to lead with purpose when life feels heavy. If you've ever felt the pressure to do it all perfectly, this conversation will breathe some peace into your soul and remind you that honoring your mission starts with grace. Hi, and welcome to the You World Order Showcase podcast, where we feature life health transformational coaches and spiritual entrepreneurs stepping up to be the change they seek in the world. I'm your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist, on a mission to help coaches and entrepreneurs amplify their voice, monetize their mission, and get visible, leveraging podcasts and Substack. Today, we are talking with Debbie Simmons. Debbie is a community activist, businesswoman, wife, mother of nine adoptive children, and most importantly, a devoted follower of Christ. Her boots on the ground experience, hard earned wisdom, and faith centered approach will help you build your business or nonprofit, family, or life legacy. Her inspiring testimony of living love without regard to risk empowers you to boldly walk through the doors God is opening for you with no worries. Hi, Debbie. Welcome to the
Hi,
show.
hi, glad to be here.
It is great to have you here. We had a little bit of technical difficulties in the beginning, but we've worked them all out.
Yes.
All right. So, are you ready for the big question?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What's the most significant thing, in your opinion, as individuals we can do to make an impact on how the world is going?
So for me, that question centers around the fact that I would like us as individuals to never get what I call stuck. Because a lot of times we get stuck, and when we do, we don't have impact. And our life can just pass us right by. And I want us to be intentional because I believe we have lots of good things to offer and do and change the world with.
I love that. So, what are some of the things that people tend tend to stick people, in
Well,
your opinion?
I'll just give you a little example from my story where I learned some key kind of things that were super helpful. And if you go back far enough in my story, you would know that I wanted to be a young grandma and I knew I needed to find a husband, get married, get pregnant, and have children. Then you could get grandchildren out of that. And so I went on that journey. But I ran into infertility problems. That was numerous years. Then eventually, in a last ditch fertility kind of effort with a study at the Baylor College of Medicine, we were able to get pregnant and got pregnant with quads. And our goal was to make 30 weeks with those boys, and we made it till about 26. And technology was not around to save them at that time. And so when the boys were born, they just simply put them in my arms, and I held them till they passed away. And so at that point, I was stuck, right? I didn't know how to make my way through my situation. I was overwhelmed. I was like, my whole life I've been able to solve problems and figure out how to get things done. And here I can't get children. And I have this mission. I need to be a young grandma and tragedy. And so I'm sitting there that night in the hospital and I looked everywhere for where I could turn. And I realized that God's the only place I could really trust. So I was like, God, I'm going to trust you with this situation. I don't know how to get out of it. And he just gently whispered, well, then you need to give me your why question because you're asking that a lot. And, when we're stuck, that's our number one question. Why? And he's like, give that to me. I'm like, no way, dude. I like that question. I have
Hanging on to it like a lifeline.
Yes, we want to hold on to it, right? Because in that horrible moment, it's the only thing I know how to do and everything. And he's like, "You need to give me that." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I gave it to him, and I'm like, "What do I do now? What do I do?" Because I can't figure my way. And he's like, "Ask me a different question." And I'm like, "What?" And the question that I learned way back then was, "How do I survive?" How do I survive? And I was like, I don't know how to survive. So, how do I survive? And the answer was, I need you to breathe, which breathing simply puts me in my prefrontal cortex and lets me get to a spot where I think. And if we're not breathing, we're dead. So, we got to keep breathing, right? And then the other part of that is, what's the next best step for me to do? What is it? It doesn't have to be big. It's just something that is movement. And so I would start figuring out what's the next best step, and I would take it, and then he would meet me and show me the next one, and I would take the next one, and this just went on and on and on. And it taught me how to move forward, but it also increased my faith muscle and my obedience, and I began a healing journey through that. And the cool thing that happened was, well, let me tell you this, it's not the next right step, because the right step sometimes makes us get stuck too, because we're wondering, is that really the right one? And we don't know what to do with that, right? So the next best one. And I'm no big, like superhero, because, really early in that process, the next best step was pull the covers off of my head, get out of the bed and brush my teeth and walk around for a minute and get back in bed. But it was positive movement, right? So
Mhm.
don't discard anything as long as it's just positive. But what happened is I continued to do that. I could do more and more things, right? And then the question changed, and it changed to, how do I thrive? Because I didn't want to be emotionally stuck. I wanted to be able to be successful, and I wanted to continue living. I wanted to have joy. I wanted to be able to do all these things. And when I asked that question, it created a sweet spot for God to begin to redeem the challenging story that I had, but it also opened doors to begin to work with people who had lost children or lead grief groups. It led to us doing this crazy thing called adoption and adopting the 9 children. It led to starting the nonprofit that impacts thousands of families every year that I get to be CEO of. It led to writing the book, and all that happened because I had a potential to be very stuck, and I had to figure my way out of it. And what I found is learning to give up that why, ask those 2 questions, applies everywhere in my life now. And it's what I do all the time. And so to me, that is the thing that when I'm working with people, that's the thing we talk about is how do we survive and how do we thrive? Because those are the 2 big questions.
Yeah. And, you know, I told you before, I had 5 kids.
Mhm.
And I have friends who have lots of kids because I live in the area where families traditionally, I tell people I have 5 kids around here and they're like, yeah, so what? I've got 8, I've got 12.
Yeah.
But um the dynamics of having families that are large like that, especially a kind of a blended family, because adoption does by definition, you're bringing people together in a family rather than just genetically related to people. And I think it's a beautiful thing, but how can you have that many kids and still have all of these other things that you're doing? I think people are interested in that because
By God's grace is about all I know the answer to. I know that, it was interesting when we chose to adopt. We didn't know exactly what we were getting into. All we knew is that we probably wanted 4 kids. And it would get me to that grandma thing I was working on, right? And
jump start too
yeah,
if
yeah.
you
So,
get them
and I
older.
do, just so nobody misses it in the story, I have 15 grandbabies and I'm still pretty young. So I'm good. I got there. But when we went to adopt, we knew we wanted a sibling group and we were really open to that. So we ended up with a sibling group of 5, and they were older, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 when they came into our homes. Um, and I think for me, uh, we just learned things. So, like, I have a master's in organizational management, and I remember the first
Okay,
the
so
first
that's a
night. Yeah,
secret.
but listen, I remember the first night that the 5 were in my home. They were outside playing in the backyard because you moved in a basketball team, so they got along. So they were playing, right?
Yeah.
And the youngest one comes in and he looks up in my face and he's like, "Hey, what's for mom? What's for dinner?" And I looked down at this kid and I was like, dude, do you ask this question every day? Because I am seriously not prepared for this. So it was like total chaos. And, then this organizational management degree sticks, it like kicks in, and I start organizing things, and you just get systems and you just get flows. And we really thought that was it because 5 is more than 4. And we were like totally satisfied with that. And I actually was at a Christian conference and heard a pastor speak about this family in a third world country that was taking in orphans off the street. And as I listened, the thing that he said at the very end was that um, every one of us would want to be this couple when they were standing in front of God. And he said, "Good and faithful servant." But none of us would want to be that couple now. and I was like, okay, like maybe they have like 30 kids in their house or something. And he said like 87 or 90. I was floored. And I had already in my mind gone, you know what? Based on rules and regulations, I can get 14 kids in my house and I got 5. So that, and God just really convicted me. And I called my husband. And I said, I think we're supposed to do it again. And he told me to stay away at the conference as long as possible. And I said, you just have to start praying. So that actually landed us with 2 more. And then that was really going to be it because there were days that we laid in bed and I looked at my husband. I'm like, dude, if God is not real, we are dummies. I don't know how we got in this mess, right? And then we added 2 more in, and that really has been it. But I would say, hey, you know what? The more children you just get very structured and you get very organized, and you realize, when everybody drops their shoes, it creates a disaster, you know. So everybody's got to pick up your shoes. You just can't relent on that because if not, they'll be everywhere. So, I think moms of large families just learn very soon to like the structure, high nurture is just so important, or the chaos is going to eat you alive because you're going to already have a lot of chaos anyway, and you want to be able to have fun. But I think the structure is so important. And the reason I can start a ministry and do the things that we do is because I have a great husband who's super supportive and is an equal participant in, working with the kids and helping me with the children. And then my children are on board with it. It was part of, they were part of the participants in making the decision that we as a family felt like this is what we needed to do. They haven't always liked everything that we get to do, but I think it's put in them a heart of service and stuff like that. And that's good for the kids to realize that life is bigger than just them. So I would just say I have a lot of structure and then try and have a lot of fun too. But structure probably saves us most of the time.
So I have to ask you, did you homeschool?
No, we did not homeschool, but you know what? What I found was they were already in public school, pretty
Mhm.
entrenched in that. And because we tried it and were super overwhelmed by trying to cover all the subjects, and I just realized that that was not where God wanted me at the time.
Mhm.
I have lots of great homeschool moms and all that stuff, and I love all that. And if I was starting from scratch, I would probably do that. But for our kids, what we ended up doing was I ended up doing a lot of extra work, kind of homeschooling on the side because a lot of them had learning challenges that had been created because they hadn't been in school when they were younger. So,
Mhm.
so we did do public school and we did some alternative school type things in there with them, depending on what each child's kind of need was.
Yeah, that's my hat's off to you. It's a lot.
Yeah, those homeschool moms are great. I'm like going, you guys got
Actually,
it. I don't know about me, but you
it's
guys got
easier.
it. Yeah,
Honestly, it's easier. My friend that I was telling you about that has 8
yeah,
kids, she
mhm,
homeschooled all of those kids, and she's the one that got me into homeschooling. But when you homeschool, you're not constrained by time so much as you are when you're trying to like get everybody to class on time, and then you pick them all up and they all have different outside of school things that they get
yeah,
interested in, and there's a lot of shuffling that happens when you're engaging in the outside education of your children that doesn't happen inside. It's little things
yeah.
like laundry, and laundry for a family of 12, 11, however many, 9 plus 2
Right.
is
Yeah. Mhm.
is like, again, my girlfriend, for years, it was mountains of laundry
Yeah. Yeah.
every week.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you the trick with that. I taught them very early how to do their own laundry, and everybody had a day. And if you missed your day, you had to wait till the next week. So, and it was okay if the boys didn't want to sort and their underwear turned pink. That's their deal, you know. So they all learned very early to do their laundry, and they were great at it. And because I was like, this will kill you.
Yeah.
Laundry will kill you, and I'm like, I'm not dying over that. But yeah, I do think, given maybe a different situation, or maybe even now, like if I had to deal with grandbabies, I might do it differently, and I
Mhm.
would get to start earlier and kind of not, because they were so much older when we got them, that
Yeah.
just seemed to be the best fit. And certainly looking at it now, I would think probably a little differently about it. But for where we were, we did the best we could with what we had at the time.
It sounds like you did amazing,
Mhm.
honestly. And it taught you some things about putting businesses together and building
Mhm.
legacies. And you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So one of the things I learned, in the pregnancy was when I lost the boys, it really made me realize that I wanted to be about eternal things. And so I was an engineer at the time for Exxon, and I loved doing that work. I loved making sure gas got to the gas station. But when I went back to work after losing the boys, I'm like, this just isn't it. I want to do something in my mind that's more eternally focused. And so that led to me leaving engineering over a period of time. And when we adopted the boys, I was running prison ministry for 4 states for Chuck Colson and Prison Fellowship.
Mhm.
And was doing ministry. And so this just was a natural way for God to continue to go, okay, now you've been in someone else's ministry, you've seen how it's running, you got your household, you got all this stuff. Now I want you to build it. And I'm still like, okay, well, how do I survive this? Because I don't know what I'm doing. So, same question, right? What do I do? And so God just revealed step by step. And we were just faithful, and God continued to open the doors and grow it and grow it and grow it. And it's wonderful to see the impact and the change in people's lives of going from desperation to a point of hope and a point of resilience, and getting to be just a small part of that is an amazing blessing to us. And it challenges us to take ourselves to the next level too. So that has been the fun part of being a part and creating Anchor Point, is just watching families grow and change, and you know do hard things that just give you like inspiration and get you excited. And then families that have adopted, that go through our therapeutic camps, and those parents feeling like, I just can't do this. And I'm like, yeah, you can. I've survived. You will survive. We will survive together. But you're going to have to learn some things about yourself and change some things about yourself. Because what I found is, in my parenting journey, maybe the reason he gave me 9 is because I had a lot of inner work to do on me, so that I could be fully present for my children. And my older children tell me with my grandbabies, they're like, you're like totally different. I'm like, I'm wiser. And I've learned that I want the heart connection, and the correction can come, but the heart connection is going to be the critical thing as they get into their teenage years.
Yeah. It's going to be more difficult on some levels when you're talking about starting with children who've already gone through a traumatic situation to get where they have gotten to come into your home. And so you have that to deal with to help them through. But
Hmm.
you also have your own trauma that you're bringing to the table, and they aren't necessarily connected, but the grace that you've gone through to interconnect and to actually forge a relationship with these little beings that
Hmm.
desperately need you because they can't survive on their own,
Yeah. Hmm.
but might not really trust you in the beginning.
Yeah.
I
So
would
I
imagine that
think,
would be a big
yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So here, I mean, when I'm working with families at camp and parents and stuff like that that have
Mhm.
adopted children, I mean, what we do have to understand is that these children have figured out how to survive in this world.
Hmm.
And they've picked up a lot of trauma along the way and a lot of maladaptive behaviors. Okay. And
Yeah.
those maladaptive behaviors have served them well to keep them alive. Okay.
Hmm.
So when they come into our homes, what we have to understand is they don't know whether they can trust you or not, because the people who were supposed to love them are often the ones that have hurt them.
Hmm.
So they come in with their guards up and they do a couple of things. It's always kind of funny. I tell parents, they come in and you have like this honeymoon phase. They're going to do everything right because they want to know that you're going to love them when they're good. Okay. So, they'll pick up their shoes, they'll do all these things. They'll, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, they'll do it all. Then once they kind of go, okay, she likes me when I'm nice, then they're like, okay, but everyone has turned me away at some point. So now I need to move into what I affectionately call the hell phase. And each child's different, but what they have to do is they then have to test you with everything that's gotten them in trouble before, like removed. And so they need to know whether you're going to still love them when they're bad. And so they begin to test out all their maladaptive behaviors on you and see if you're still going to be a solid rock. Okay. And if you're solid and you can weather the storm with them, then those kiddos go, okay, she loves me when I'm good. She loves me when I'm bad and she's consistent, right? Then, okay, this might be a safe place where I can let them have my heart. Okay. Now, the challenge for me as the adult is as we enter the health phase, is that whatever that kid's doing or when that kid loses it, it feels at that point very personal to me. They might be using cuss words or they might be saying something bad about me or whatever it is.
Hmm.
But it feels very personal. And what it is that arrow is just striking some woundedness in me. They don't know what they're hitting. I just I just know it, right? So we call that, when that happens, you've actually hit your shark waters. It's where it's like Jaws, dun 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 dun. And I'm like, I'm gonna die if I don't take this kid out. And so what I teach families is when we can begin to recognize that our shark waters are lit up, as soon as I can go, oh, that's my shark waters, then I've like named it and I can tame it. Okay. Because I can go, but that might mean I might need to go get some counseling, or I might get to do some other things. Like I used to have some prayer friends on speed dial. And
No
when I'm
doubt.
losing it, I'm texting them going, sign me up for that next prayer session so I can be a good mama, because I got to figure out how to get out of this. And God will graciously allow us to continue to grow. But if He says that I can have joy and peace in all situations and I'm losing it with my kid, then there's something internally going on with me. And I have to be willing to go after that and figure out what it is, because the truth is that I can't lead my children through healing unless I myself have been through it. It may be different types of healing, but if I've not been willing to do the hard work, then I can't help my children do the hard work. And so, actually, at camp, we end up working on parents a lot. And that's why I say God's worked on me, because I'm always like, sign me up. I know I got to deal with this. And so, help me, because I want to be a good mom. We want to be a good mom. And I need to be able to be fully present when that child's losing it. And they may be saying bad words, whatever. And I need to be able to hear
Mhm.
them say, Mom, I need you now more than ever, but I don't know how to tell you. And they need me to look in their eyes and say, I see you. I'm here with you. We're going to figure our way through. Now they're cussing at the same time, and I'm going, this doesn't feel very good, or whatever it is. But when I can do that, then I can help bring them out of their maladaptive behaviors to a new way of using their words to get their needs met, and so that they can be successful in life. And that's a hard journey sometimes for us as parents, because it doesn't matter whether it's an adoptive or a biological child. They all can find your buttons, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't feel so good. So being willing to grow that way makes all the difference for your kiddos, or I have employees that can set me off too. And I'm like, okay, I need to go work on me and then we'll deal with this. So,
Yeah, I'm over here thinking that it's a universal thing. The only
Mhm.
thing that you can fix is you.
Mhm.
And if something's triggering you, it's
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
You need to figure out what that is and make decisions after you figured out why this is impacting you.
Yes. Well, the nice thing is that if we could all agree on that, is the
Hmm.
nice thing is then I am empowered to deal with me because nobody else is going to deal with me. I can go do my hard work and I have it all within my control
Hmm.
to make me a better mom, to be able to handle a more difficult situation. And I'm going, that's pretty freeing. When I couldn't figure out how to have kids, I couldn't solve that problem. I can solve this problem. I can figure out how to work through my hard stuff. And that is freeing and encouraging. And that means my kids can figure their stuff out too. They may
Yeah.
need some help and I need help. That's okay. That's how life is.
And so you help people in groups in your, how does your coaching look? Let me ask it
Sure.
that way.
Well, if we were to go through some of the camp stuff that we do therapeutic camps with kiddos and
Mhm.
families in the summer at Anchor Point, which is awesome. And then some of the stuff that I do, a lot of it I do one on one,
Mhm.
and then move to some coaching settings once we kind of have worked through some initial stuff to kind of just see where people are. But the kind of questions that I ask, I'm usually looking at spiritually, physically, nutritionally, emotionally, kind of where are you and where do you think you're stuck? And where do you think your next best step is? Because I could tell you what I observe and I could tell you what I think, but you're much more likely to walk out what you think and you believe. And so my job is really to just be the encouragement, be the good question asker, let you get all these thoughts that are rolling around in your head out. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, I thought there was 2 billion things in there and there's actually 10. That's still a lot, but let's sort through those. And then you make priorities and then you just have people, people like me who are walking alongside you going, yeah, you did it. Or wow, that one didn't work out so well. So what kind of adjustment are you going to make? And, because life's not about perfection. It's about figuring our way and next best steps just need adjustments sometimes, and so those are all okay and they're good. And that is built, if you're not around where you can get to someone who can coach you one on one or not in a situation to do that, then that's what a community of good friends can do too. That you just have people that love you and are safe and don't let you just get away with just saying anything but will challenge you. Those are people that we should value in our lives that help us.
For sure. And how do people get in touch with you if they feel the desire to learn more about you? And
Yeah. So what I would say is the best place to learn more about me is to go to the website and it's thedebbieSimmons.com. And there's a bunch of resources there, more information, all the social media handles. I would say a wonderful place, if you just want one thing, is get the book of the Heart of Legacy because it gives you the rest of my story, but it also has a whole middle section that is all application. How can I be focused? How can I be faithful? How can I be fearless and live my legacy now so that it lasts long after I'm gone, right? And then the whole backside is stories of life change that have happened through the ministry that we do. So you can see story after story of people that just have done amazing things. And that's such an encouragement to each one of us that, hey, we can do this and we can grow and we can stretch. But that book is a wonderful tool. And there's a link, there's a page on there for that they can learn more about that.
on the website, it's
Mhm.
easy to find. It's up
Yes.
there.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
And you offer the guide to building a lasting legacy. Uh,
Hmm.
it's a it's a guide,
Yeah,
and you
it's
can
just a
find that there
freebie.
too.
It's a freebie on there you can get when you first go to the website. It's a great just little starter to get you thinking
Mhm.
about what is legacy and why would I want to live legacy and how do I do it? Because I believe each of us has so much to give and so much impact to make, and we just got to turn on intentional thinking to capitalize on the moments that we have. And I think we can do that, but sometimes we just need reminders. And that legacy thing is just a great reminder for us all.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Debbie.
Yeah, it's been fun.
It has been. To learn more about Debbie and to get the guide to building a lasting legacy, please visit thedebbieSimmons.com, and I'll be sure to put that link in the show notes below. Thank you for tuning in with us today. If you have a podcast or are interested in starting one to get your message in front of our huge and active audience, be sure to reach out to us at support@heartlife.com. We love to help spiritual entrepreneurs and coaches amplify their voice and monetize their mission, and offer a variety of ways to do this on Substack. Join us for our next episode as we share what others are doing to raise the global frequency. And remember, change begins with you. You have all the power to change the world. Start today and get visible.